Hello and welcome to Video Notebook, my friends. Hey, today we're going to talk about decomposing polygons to solve for the area. And I've got a couple of different samples here of polygons. And as you can see, it's not a simple rectangle, and this is not a simple triangle. So we've got to decompose them to make them into rectangles. And in this case, we're going to make them into separate rectangles and triangles. I've got a step-by-step process here that I like to have my students use. And as you see, the first step is to solve for the missing lengths. So here, I don't know what this length is. It's represented as x. And I don't know what this length here is. It's represented by y. So we'll solve for those first. Over here, if I'm going to break this into a triangle, I don't know what this length here is, and I don't know what this length here is. So I do know the whole length of this, that's 18, but I want to know what just the triangle is. So we're going to solve that first, and then you're going to break it into separate polygons. I'm going to show you how that works. And then the next thing is to just solve for each polygon, and then finally add the total areas, or add the areas up to get your total area, rather. Alrighty, let's start off with this polygon right here. I can see that the length of the top here is 15 centimeters. This height here is 12.4 centimeters. Here I have 6.5 centimeters, 3 centimeters. I don't know what x is, and this here is 3 centimeters. Right here I have 6.5 centimeters, and I don't know what this is. So I need to solve for x and for y. What I like to do is start off by making a little rectangle here because I want to show you what's happening here. So now I'm going to try and get this to fit pretty perfectly, and that needs to be moved a little bit. All right, so now if you notice, if I take this side here, which I know is 12.4, and if I can take that side and shrink it and move it over here, it's the exact same size, isn't it? So this side here, I just moved over, it's the exact same size. So that means that this side, if this side over here is 12.4 centimeters, this side over here has to be exactly the same. It has to be 12.4. So bam, I can write 12.4 centimeters for that right there, okay? So let's move this back here now. I'm going to move this back where it was. And now, conversely, or also, I know that if this is 15, then if I take this line here and I drop it all the way down here, that has to be, from here to here, has to also be 15 centimeters, right? Well, I know that this is 6.5 and this here is 6.5. So now, if I take 6.5 plus 6.5, I'm going to get 13 centimeters, right? And then I need to add this in here to give me 15, right? So if I take 6.5 plus 6.5 is going to give me 13 centimeters plus another 2 centimeters across here. So 2 will give me 15 centimeters because 13 plus 2 equals 15. So I've got 6.5 plus 2 plus 6.5, which will equal 15. All right, for those of you who don't believe me, 6.5 right there, 6.5 right there, and 2 right there. So 5 plus 5 is going to give you 10. Drop your 0, carry your 1. 1 plus 6 is going to give you 7. Plus 6 is going to give you 13. Plus 2 is going to give you 15. And bam, you can see that as we've shown you right here, this, if I move it up, 15 on the top here, right, has to be equal to the 15 of that 2 plus these two 6.5s right there and there. Perfect. So now I can start to break these into different rectangles. So once again, I've got my rectangle covering the whole thing. Now, if I take this rectangle here and I break it into a couple different parts, I could break it into one part there. So I have one rectangle here. I could grab another one right here and make this rectangle. Let's see if I can move this pretty well. So it's about right. Perfect. And then I've got one rectangle here that I could solve for, which is my base times my height, which is 6.5 times 12, right? And then I've got my base here for this rectangle, 6.5 times my height, which is 12.4. And then here I have my 2 for my base. Now I've got the 12.4 minus this 3. So in this case, the height would be 12 minus 3 is going to give 9.4, right? So I take 2 times 9.4. Once again, that works because if I take this and I move it on over, you can see that over here, it's 12.4, right? And if I move this over here, then I can take the 12.4 minus this 3 right here, and 12 minus 3 is going to give you 9, and then you have the 0.4. Alrighty, so I did the area for these 3 rectangles. So for this one, I took 6.5 and multiplied it by 12.4, and you get 80.6. For this rectangle, I took 2 times 9.4, and that gave me 18.8. And then for this one, it's once again 6.5 times the 12.4 to give you 80.6. So now all I have to do is add these 3 up, and I'll have my grand total. And I have done the work right here. I've got 80.6 plus 80.6 plus the 18.8, and that gives me a grand total of 180. Therefore, the area of this polygon right here is 180 centimeters? How about centimeters squared? All right, let's go ahead and look at how we might solve this slightly differently. Alrighty, so I've recreated this polygon right here, and as you see, the top length is 15 centimeters, just like I have here. The side here is 12.4 centimeters, just like I have over here. This was 3 centimeters high, just like we have here, and we already solved for this as 2 centimeters long, so that's 2 centimeters long. So I'm going to break this up in a slightly different manner, and the first thing I'm going to do is solve for the entire rectangle, right? So let's go ahead and just make that here. So now this entire rectangle is going to be my base of 15 centimeters times my height of 12.4. And I did my math right here. I got 12.4 times 15, and I came up with 186. So that is the area of this entire rectangle here, right? So now all I have to do is take this that's not there, right? Because remember, this is not here. And bam, I just showed you. So now you've got this section right here that's no longer there. I can solve for this area and then subtract it. So if I take this now and go, okay, what is the area of this? Well, it's base times height, which is 2 times 3, which is going to give you 6, right? So now all I have to do is take this 186 and subtract 6, and that's super, super simple, right? I got 186 minus 6, and that's going to give you 180 centimeters, and that's squared, and bam, this way I actually think is quite a bit easier for solving when you have a problem like this. Do the entire rectangle and then subtract whatever is not there. And as you can see, this 6 here is not there, right? So either way you solve it, you would end up with 180 centimeters squared or 180 centimeters squared. So you could break it into 3 different rectangles here, or you could break it into other rectangles as well and add them up. Or you can do one big rectangle and then subtract what's not there and solve for your answer. So that is the strategy for working with a polygon that looks like this. Let's go ahead and look at our next one that has a triangle in it. And we're going to follow the exact same steps. First, we're going to look for any missing lengths and solve for those. Then we're going to break it into separate polygons. Then we'll solve for the area of each polygon. And finally, we'll add up to get our total area for this polygon here. So let's zoom in here and take a look here. So now what I've got here, I've got this length that I know here, and that's great. I've got my length here that I know, that's great. I got my length here that I know, that's great. And I got my length here that I know, that is great. Now with this triangle here, all I really need is the base right here, and I got to figure out what the height is here. I do not need to know what this length is for solving the area of this triangle. So let's go ahead and start breaking this up. So what I'd like to do here is first grab a little rectangle and do this, cover that rectangle. So now as you see, I've got a rectangle that goes just like this, and it's not covering it perfectly. Let's see if I can make that a little bit better here. Shrink that in a little bit, and then shrink this up a little bit. Perfect. All right. So now I can solve for the area of this rectangle here, and now I can also solve for the area of this triangle. In order to solve for the triangle, I have to be able to figure out what this base from here to here is, and what this height from here to here is. Now I know that from the tip here to down here is 18 centimeters, this entire length here. And I know that this length here is 13 centimeters from the top to the bottom here, right? So if I take this, now watch, just like I did before, if I move this over, then if this is 13 over here, this portion has to be 13 here, right? So if I take the 18 of all of it minus this 13, that's going to leave me with 5 right here. Therefore, this height from here to here is going to be 5 centimeters because 13 plus 5 will give me the entire 18 that I need. So let's bring this back over here. This is where it was. And now I can do this same thing for my base here, right? Now, if this is 14.5 centimeters from here to here, if I bring this up here, that means this full distance here has to be from there to there, 14.5. So I can subtract the 11.5, which is from just here to here, right? And that's going to give me 3 centimeters. So I know that this section from here to here is 3 centimeters, and then the rest of this is going to be 11.5 centimeters, right? And together, 3 plus 11.5 will give you 14.5. So that's really how we break it apart and solve for the lengths that we're missing. And I was missing this length and this length here. So now I can start to solve for my area of this rectangle and this triangle. Alrighty, now that I know all my measurements for this rectangle and for this triangle right here, I'm ready to write my formulas, plug in the numbers, and solve for the area of these 2 polygons, and then I'll have to simply add them together. So let's start with this rectangle right here. I did area equals base times height, and then I did area equals base. Now my base is right here. It's the 14.5. Now I want you to notice I did not use this top one because this top one stops here, and from there to there is 11.5. To get the full base that goes all the way from here to here, I need to use this bottom one, the 14.5. So I plug that in there. Now for the height, I have to use this height of 13. Once again, this height goes all the way to the top, so I don't want to use the 18. I want to make sure I use this one here. So once again, I got 14.5 times 13. I did my work right here and ended up with 188.5. So the area of this bottom rectangle here is 188.5 centimeters squared. Now let's move on up here to this triangle right here. So I know that my base here is 3 and my height here is 5. So I plugged in the formula, A equals base times height divided by 2. Then I plugged in the numbers. A equals base is 3, height is 5, and then I divide that by 2. Well, 5 times 3, actually 3 times 5, is going to give you 15. Then I divide that by 2. I did my work right here. 15 divided by 2 is going to give you 7.5. So the area of this triangle right here is 7.5, and that is centimeters squared. Okay, so now all I have to do is add 7.5 plus 188.5, And I did the work right here. 188.5 plus 7.5 is going to give you 196. So therefore, the area of this entire polygon here is 196 centimeters squared. Bam! Gotta love it. Now, that is the way you're going to solve for polygons that can be broken up into a triangle plus a rectangle. So these are the notes for decomposing polygons to solve for area. What I'd like you to do right now is make sure that you have all these notes copied into your notebook so that you can use these strategies later on as you need them. Hey, until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.